Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident that was not your fault, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by to answer your questions for free. Call now and find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-504-8790. I'm here.
Beaver County Radio's news source, 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMVA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com. Here's Curtis Walsh.
Good morning on this Wednesday, July the 10th of 2024. We can expect a high of about 86 degrees today with partly sunny skies. We'll have a complete Beaver County radio weather forecast after we take this look at news. An early morning shooting in Aliquippa is under investigation. Beaver County radio news correspondent Sandy Giordano reports that the Aliquippa police were called to the scene of a shooting in the 1000 block of Irwin Street in Aliquippa this morning. The shooting took place around 4:56 a.m. One female was confirmed to have been taken to the hospital. State police were called in to take over the investigation, and they remain on scene. No other details are available at this time. A year ago, Hassan Moreland, a 15-year-old, was shot and killed in Ambridge, and now one of the teens involved in his death pled guilty to third-degree murder. Nassan Hunt, age 19, admitted to his role in Hassan's murder in court Tuesday. The district's attorney office is putting its resources into the trial for who they believe is the gunman, Naheem Kirksey, who was arrested this spring as Hunt's co-defendant. Hunt was sentenced to 15 to 40 years in prison with another federal gun charge still pending. Ambridge Borough has received a grant for parking lot improvements. Sandy Giordano reports that a $124,200 grant from the Beaver County Community Development was awarded to the borough to improve the Melrose Avenue and 7th Street parking lots. The borough also signed an agreement with Duquesne Light to install 4 more charging stations at the Melrose Avenue parking lot. Center Township Police Chief Aldo Leggi reported Wednesday morning that Matthew Stewart Houghton-Steller, age 28, of Chapel Road, was arrested on a warrant last night around 10 p.m. Police were assisted by the Beaver County ESU. They report finding drugs, money, and a weapon when they took the suspect into custody. The criminal complaint on Houghton-Steller was filed in the District Justice Joseph Schaefer's office this morning, and Houghton-Steller is currently lodged in the Beaver County Jail. The Pennsylvania State Police released the results of its annual Independence Day weekend enforcement detail, which aims to strengthen roadway safety across the Commonwealth. The PSP investigated 774 vehicle crashes that resulted in 11 fatalities and 244 injuries between the days of July 3rd and the 7th. Intoxicated driving was a factor in 64 of those crashes, which resulted in 4 of them being fatal. During the 5 days, troopers arrested 556 motorists for DUI and issued over 28,000 citations, including just under 8,000 for speeding, little under 900 for failing to wear a seatbelt, and over 200 for not securing children in safety seats. A battle for control of several swing state capitals is playing out in the shadow of the presidential campaign. National groups aligned with Democrats and Republicans are planning to spend a couple $100 million on state legislative races. The top targets include several states where control of a chamber is at stake, including Arizona, Michigan, Minnesota, New Hampshire, Wisconsin, and right here in Pennsylvania. Many of those other states are also presidential battlegrounds. Parties are highlighting national political themes such as abortion rights, inflation, and immigration. Some of the most closely contested races are occurring in the suburbs of big cities. And the overall health of the Chesapeake Bay has received its highest grade since 2002 in an annual report released by scientists, and that grade is a C+. The health of the nation's largest estuary is a reflection of what's happening across its 6-state watershed, which includes Delaware, Maryland, New York, Virginia, West Virginia, and PA, along with D.C. Scientists at the University of Maryland Center for Environmental Science made special note of Pennsylvania's efforts to block pollution from entering state waterways, and Pennsylvania has faced criticism in the past for not doing enough to stop pollution from flowing into the bay.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
Mostly sunny, hot, and humid again today. There's a slight chance we'll see an afternoon shower and thunderstorm. We'll reach a high near 87. Increasing clouds tonight with a chance of showers and thunderstorms. We'll see a low around 65. Sunshine tomorrow and a much-needed break in heat as we'll reach a high near 80 and an overnight low around 61. The heat starts creeping back on Friday with sunny skies and a high near 88. And more sunny, hot, and humid conditions in the forecast for Saturday. A high near 91 is expected. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
On this Wednesday, July the 10th of 2024, at 10 minutes past 11, we've got a temperature of 87 degrees with cloudy skies in Beaver County. That's a look at the news for now. I'm Curtis Walsh on 99.3 FM and AM 1230 WBVP, also streaming at beavercountyradio.com.
Welcome to Garden Jargon with Charlie Durden right here on Beaver County Radio. Charlie is here to talk to you about everything having to do with your garden. Garden Jargon is being brought to you in part Beaver County Radio 95.7 and 99.3 FM along with 1230 WBVP and 1460 WMBA and beavercountyradio.com. Call in now and ask Charlie your gardening questions. Share if you have any gardening tips that have helped your garden grow. Phone numbers are 724-843-1888 and 724-774-1888. And now, without further ado, here's Charlie.
One of the funnier things I've seen in a while just happened. Charlie Dirt joins me. This is on Facebook. This is a live feed on Facebook. And if you're able to watch the Facebook, you might see the culprit of the humor. How you doing, Charlie?
Eddie, if I was any better, I'd have to be twins. How are you?
Did you see? I don't want to get into specifics, but if you're watching on Facebook, you can see this. In front of Charlie, there is a large Ziploc bag. There you go. Hold it up for the fans.
Well, I don't have any fans.
Well, you might now.
Yeah.
Charlie comes walking in. He's got a large Ziploc bag of leafy green stuff. And I've got enough history in radio. I've seen big bags of leafy green stuff come into buildings. And everyone in the building, they had that, oh, that looks interesting. What is that? What is the bag of green leafy stuff? Because it smells wonderful, and I don't mean in that other way. Okay.
Well, Eddie, you had alluded to the fact last month that you were late getting your oregano started.
Yeah.
Okay.
My Greek oregano that I did last year just got started.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have the Greek oregano, but I do grow oregano. And as I mentioned last month, it is a perennial. It will, even in your pots, if you leave it alone, it will come back.
You said pot. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, okay. We won't go, how they say it, we won't go down that rabbit hole.
No.
Yeah, but I knew that, I was hoping that I didn't get stopped by the police on the way over here for, anything, because they would see the bag. But I brought it because I was thinking about you, Eddie, and I brought you a couple of things. But the second thing I brought you, I want to do...
Hold them up, man. This is like show and tell. People think I'm losing my mind.
Okay, here's the oregano.
That is a large bag of leafy green stuff.
Yes, and it is not washed. Don't wash it till you're ready to use it.
Sure.
And that's why I left the bag open. If you put it in the fridge, leave the air get to it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It'll keep in the fridge for a couple, 2-3 days, or you can dry it, and preserve it that way.
Easier to light.
Well...
I'm sorry, man. I came up in rock and roll radio, and when a dude with a beard, a ponytail, and a Hawaiian shirt walks in with a giant Ziploc bag of something green, heads tilt.
Well, Eddie, I grew up in the 60s. I was stationed in California in the 70s.
So you know.
Yeah, I know. And I used to hang around with some rock and roll deviants, too,
I knew it wasn't because it smells absolutely wonderful. I love the smell of oregano.
Yes. It's one of those. It's like rain on the leaves on an October morning. It's one of those.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's fresh mown grass, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, but the second thing I brought you up, I'll get into in the third segment because I got some topics here, and I always say the same thing. It sounds like I'm hurrying because I am, because this hour flies by so fast, and I try to get the stuff pertinent to this time of year. And I try to gear the show toward the beginning gardener, the person that maybe this is the first year or second year they did it.
Me.
Okay, well.
Me. Well, I grew up around it my whole life, but I wasn't gardening. I was helping pick and helping break beans. But every time, and today's nailed example, I am about maybe 2 weeks from having to tie up my tomatoes.
Well,
one of the topics... how to tie up tomatoes.
Right. And I brought you some tomatoes that are already tied up. I didn't drag them in here because my hands were full with all the green leafy stuff. But, and this is something that can be a bit challenging to the new gardener. And like I always say, there's a right way, the wrong way, and the way that works for you. All right? Now, when you start talking about tying up tomatoes, we've all seen them, the tomato cages in the big box store.
Right. I want to ask you a side note real quick. When you see a 2.5-foot tomato plant already grown, already in the big, I call it chicken wire, the hoop, what's the point of gardening? You're not gardening at that point, are you?
Well,
are you easing into it?
Well, sometimes people start that way, Eddie. Sometimes, because if you pay $8 for that tomato plant, take it home and it dies,
right?
You might say, well, it's not for me. But if you spend $8 on that tomato plant and take it home and you get a couple of tomatoes, you might be prone next year to try to grow it yourself from seed or buy a smaller plant. And so the tomato cages that you can buy, me personally, I never had much luck with them. This is what happens with me. The tomato gets big, it holds the plant up, then the limbs go out through the cage and break.
Yeah, and then snap off.
They snap off.
Or you walk by it and it's cheap chicken wire with burrs on it and you shred yourself trying to reach in there.
Right. Now, people kept giving them to me because they knew I had a garden. And about, 5 years ago, I put them on Yankee Trader for like 25 cents or 50 cents a piece.
I bet it cleaned up, didn't it?
Well, I had them all over my front porch, and one guy bought them all. He came up from down around the industry somewhere, and he was tickled to get them. Mm-hmm. He says, going to give my grandkids something to do. I said, Okay.
You're going to cage up your grandkids. We got it.
Okay. Well, I didn't have any that big, but they make them almost that big. All right. You got the cage, which I don't like. Then you got the traditional drive the stake in the ground.
That's me.
Okay. All right. And as your grandmother, I think you said she tore up bed sheets or pillow cases or something to
Just old fabric.
Yeah.
And that's how it got tied up. I guess it was gentle and it held a decent knot.
Right. Now, that's very, it has to hold the knot. It has to be something that won't cut the plant. So there's a lot of things. Old nylon stockings are good, okay, because they're stretchy and they won't cut the stalk, okay. And
as the plant keeps growing, it's not going to hinder it because of the flexibility. Okay.
Stretch. Okay.
Makes sense.
Okay. So that's one tying material. You can use a twine if it's a big fat twine. You don't want that little skinny twine because that will cut into it. Mm-hmm. But I have here, this is one of the best things and this is from the dollar store. It used to be the dollar store. It's the $1.25 store.
I was going to say, how much was it? It's a roll of, it just looks like, I'd call it trot line.
Well,
small line.
It's 3/16 in diameter, and there's 40 feet of it. You can tie a lot of tomato plants up with 40 feet of this stuff. And see how fat it is?
Yeah.
It won't cut the plants. All right. It's $1.25 for all of this. And if you're thrifty, you possibly could reuse it next year. After the frost, you could take it off of the things and possibly use it next year. Possibly not. But it's $1.25. And there's 40 feet of it here. It won't cut the plants, all right? So you can put the stake in, tie it with whatever you tie it with. Another method, you can put a stake, say you have a row of tomatoes. You can put a stake at either end of the tomatoes, and you know those utility hooks you buy at the big box store? You know, it's like you hang bicycles and stuff on?
Yeah.
Okay. You drill a hole in the stake at either end of the row, put one of them hooks in, and just lay a crossbar down in them two hooks.
Just give it a beam to grow to.
And you can tie the whole row. If you have 2 rows of tomatoes, you can put one of them down the middle and tie the tomatoes from both directions into that thing. And it's less labor intensive to do it that way. So there's a lot of ways to do it.
When does it become more financially prudent? How many tomatoes do you have to have before you get away from the twine or line and start building? It sounds like an early part of framing.
Well, the thing is, if you have a shed or something or a place to store it, in the fall, you pull those stakes out and take your cross arbor bar, put it in storage, and next year you just go out and use it. It's not anything that's nailed together or screwed together. It's totally portable. Totally. My greenhouse that I have some of my plants still in now, I didn't build it, but it's like a snap together thing, and it's got a poly cover on it. And in another week or two, I'll take that all apart, and it goes down in a box, and it goes in my shed. Storage of your gardening stuff can be an issue sometimes. So, yeah, you don't want to build something that's a permanent thing, and you want to move your tomatoes every year. You don't want them in the same place every year. We talked about crop rotation.
Now, that doesn't apply to me because I'm doing pot tomato. I'm doing like a flower pot tomato. So,
sure.
Okay.
But say you wanted to reuse that soil, which we talked about, you can reuse that next year, put some supplements, nutrients in it, okay? And just don't use the dirt that you grew tomatoes in last year. Put the peppers in next year, or put your okra in next year.
It's about rotating your crops.
Exactly. And it's a trick, and it's amazing how many people that garden for years and years and years, they put the tomatoes in the same place every year because that's where Dad had them, or that's whatever. But if you can move your stuff around, different stuff, and like I said last year, the end of the year, not with your containers, but for your garden, make a little sketch. Because if you're like me, this May, I'm not going to remember exactly where the corn was last May.
Right.
So you're going to move the stuff around.
Take a picture with your phone. Hang on to the picture.
What's that?
Exactly. I know. Good answer.
Well, I have a flip phone. I can take pictures.
Better answer.
Good answer. Yeah. As Craig Wolfley said to me one time, I told you that story. Yeah. Okay. And what do we got for time-wise here?
I'm totally leaning on you. We can talk about whatever you want. If people have questions, 724-843-1888 or 774-1888, or post your question in the comments section. This is on our Facebook feed right now. Man, when you show up, you brought us peppers last time. You got oregano this time. What is the guy in Animal House say? The streets of Faber are yours. And no joke. I'm about 2 weeks from tying up tomatoes, and $1.25.
$1.25 at the dollar store.
I can almost afford that. Is this the time of year when stuff's up enough where you're like, yes, it's going on? Because I'm nervous when the stuff's small.
Well, sure, we all are, and you have to. They're like a young child. You have to nurture them more when they're younger.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Allie started telling you what she was going to do at one point instead of you telling her what she was going to do.
Still does.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I got daughters too, okay, and granddaughters and a grandson, but you have to nurture them more, and you get nervous about it. And I get nervous every year. This isn't going to grow. This isn't going to grow. And this is another thing. And this is a little footnote. If you're gardening, every year is a good year for some things and not a good year for other things. If it's a bad year, say for cucumbers, no matter what.
That hurt my head. How am I supposed to know that?
You roll the dice, Eddie.
Oh, you're saying this is what's going to happen.
Right. So
I see.
Yeah. Now, last year, my cucumbers went crazy. They're not doing real good this year. I'm nervous about them. But, if you got enough other things to take your mind off of it, it's okay. The peppers are doing great. Tomatoes are going great. Zucchini's doing great. I've been eating out of the garden now for weeks. Lettuce, onions and stuff, fresh salad.
I'm quite jealous of that because I got a way late start, and I'm probably another month from being able to get stuff. Other than I got peppers starting to blossom.
Well, you'll have some tomatoes to eat with what I got sitting outside the door there shortly.
Was that a snack when you were a kid, just a hunk of tomato and maybe a salt shaker or a pepper shaker?
Well, yeah, salt. I know you said you like to put pepper on it. Yeah, and you pick it in the sun when it's warm. You know, you pick the tomato, and you don't wash it. You just wipe the dirt off of it. And if you want salt,
I rinse it off. I'm not gross.
Well, it depends on how hungry you are, how far you are from the house. You know.
Fair enough.
Okay. So you got your different ways to tie your tomatoes, and I'm going to jump from that. If somebody's got another method to tie them up, call us up, Facebook, whatever, and let us know because hey, you could give me a good idea, and I could try something different. All right, now this is for the semi-advanced gardener, this next segment. Saving of seeds. All right?
Dude, seriously, you're talking about saving seeds. You come in with a big baggie full of green stuff.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Now I'm thinking Jim Stafford.
Yeah, I'm sitting there in that bag of seeds.
Sitting there in that bag of seeds. I just smiled and waved. Yeah. How do you save seeds? Because I tried to last year, and they ain't coming up.
Well, all right. First of all,
peppers.
Yeah. First of all, the pepper has to be ripe. A green pepper is like a green apple. It is not ripe. For those seeds to be mature, in other words, yes, like your hot peppers, you wait till they turn red to save the seeds.
So I can't take a green pepper and the seeds, and you can tell the difference. They're not as plump, not quite as big. The seeds, those aren't going to do it.
No.
Okay.
This is the irony of this. I don't have any peppers red yet, but I wanted to show the method to save the seeds because this is some Hungarian wax peppers that I ate for dinner last night. This is the web out of them.
You brought in your scraps. That's great.
Yeah, well, I brought you the green leafy stuff too. Okay. This is simple. This is absolute no-brainer stuff. You don't want to save the seeds from a hybrid. We talked about that because you won't get what that plant is. You'll get what one of the parents were. Okay,
which could be good or could be really startling.
Right now, and I had some seeds. I grow a corn. It's a yellow and white hybrid. It's called Jackpot. It's wonderful corn. It's a sugar enhanced corn, but it's a hybrid. Mm-hmm. So I make corn shocks for decorations for in the fall, and then I grind up the corn shocks in the garden in the spring for mulch. Well, some of them stalks had little dried ears of corn on them. And a few years ago, one of those seeds germinated where I had tilled it in.
It took.
Eddie, this plant was like 10.5 feet tall.
Nice.
It had these huge ears of corn, and I'm watching this thing in my mouth water, and I'm thinking, this is going to be great. I picked it, and it had no flavor at all. One of the parents of that Jackpot was put in there for the strength of the stalk and the size of the ear.
Not for flavor, but for durability of the plant.
Of the plants, to be resistant to storms and stuff like that. So they hybrid that with a very sugary sweet corn, I'm sure, and you get big ears and it's sweet. So that's why if you look at your seed package, if you bought seeds this year and it says it's any kind of a hybrid, okay, don't save the seeds. I mean, unless you just want to see what will happen.
Right.
So if you have a non-hybrid type pepper, can you? I'm going to try to do this. Is that on? Can you see that?
I am watching. Hold it. Turn it more up and down. Hold it higher. There you go. For those of you, this is all the reason you need to watch this on Facebook, because there's information. It looks like the inside ain't going to eat it part of peppers.
Right. It's the web.
I know.
Now, I have had the best success if I just cut the web out and dry them on the web. The best thing is when you buy your chicken tonight to cook with your oregano, wash that styrofoam tray and save it. Now, I put it on a black tray so that there'd be a little bit of contrast.
More visible.
More visible. Most of the meat trays are white, and this wouldn't have showed up too well. These seeds are not going to germinate because these peppers were not red. But I wanted to show what to do. That's all you got to do. Take them out. Do not wash them.
Wait till they're red. Wait
till they're red
before you crack it open.
Yeah. Okay. And then dry the seeds. You can set this on a sunny windowsill, anywhere. They'll dry in a few days, and you can tell Eddie, if you pick up this web and you flick it with your thumb, and the seeds fall right off, they're dry. If you're flicking them and some of them are sticking,
they're fighting. They ain't dry yet.
They ain't dry yet. So that's real simple. Now, here the next thing. I tried to do this with a picture last year, and it didn't work out real well. So
you got a little baby strainer, it looks like.
You see that? That's a flat bottom plastic strainer. Also available at most dollar stores.
$1.25.
Yeah, $1.25 stores.
Yeah.
Okay, and you get a couple of them for $1.25. Sometimes they have them, sometimes they don't. There are flat bottom sieves on the internet you can buy. All right. The reason why you want this, if you're going to save tomato seeds, number one, we get a tomato that is not a hybrid tomato, a beefsteak, a Marglobe, some kind of an heirloom tomato. You know that's not a hybrid tomato. You cut your tomato into quarters. I can't do this in here because I didn't want to make a mess. All right, for once in my life.
Yeah,
and it's flat bottom. So you scoop the seeds out into the sieve, and you run cold water over it. And this flat bottom thing, you take your fingers and you smish, and you get all that juice off of the seeds now. And then you take them, and you got them all washed. Now, we got to do news?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what you're telling me, it's Garden Jargon with Charlie Dirt. What you're telling me is flat bottom sieves make the garden world go round.
Yes, and then you just set them on a red Solo cup like that and set them in a sunny windowsill. And when they're dry, you flake them right out of there and put them in a container and save them.
Curtis Walsh with news. Your questions, you call in, post your question in the comments section on the live Facebook feed.
Beaver County Radio proudly welcomes Fry Transportation to their family. You're listening to 99.3 FM and 1230 WBVP, live from the all-new Fry Transportation Studios.
Lincoln Park Performing Arts Center in Midland and PA Cyber present Pure Black and Gold Oldies in the Main Stage Theater. One show only, Friday, July 26th at 7 p.m. Starring three of Pittsburgh's most iconic oldies groups, the Skyliners, the Jaggers, and Pure Gold. Tickets start at just $18. Get yours now at LincolnParkArts.org. Pure Black and Gold Oldies, July 26th at Lincoln Park. Sponsored by the Beaver 95.7 and 1460 WMBA.
Beaver County Radio's news source, 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com. Here's Curtis Walsh.
Good morning on this Wednesday, July the 10th of 2024. We can expect partly sunny skies today with a high of about 88 degrees. There'll be some clouds tonight with some possible rain showers going down to a low of 65. We'll have a complete Beaver County radio weather forecast after we take this look at news. State police are currently investigating a shooting that took place in Aliquippa early this morning. The Aliquippa police were called to the scene at the 1000 block of Irwin Street around 4:56 a.m. One female was confirmed to have been taken to the hospital. State police were called in to take over the investigation, and they remain on scene. No further details have been made available at this time. Exactly 1 year to the day after Hassan Moreland, a 15-year-old, was shot and killed in Ambridge, one of the teens involved in the shooting pled guilty to third-degree murder. Nassan Hunt, who is age 19, admitted to his role in Hassan's murder in court on Tuesday. The Beaver County District Attorney's Office says they're putting their resources into the trial for who they believe is the gunman, Naheem Kirksey, and he was arrested earlier this spring as Hunt's co-defendant. Hunt was sentenced to 15 to 40 years in prison with another federal gun charge that's still pending. Center Township Police Chief Aldo Leggi reported this morning that Matthew Stewart Hottensteller, age 28, of Chapel Road and Center, was arrested on a warrant last night around 10 p.m. Beaver County Radio News correspondent Sandy Giordano reports that police were assisted by the Beaver County ESU in executing that warrant. Police found drugs, money, and a weapon when they took the suspect into custody. The criminal complaint on Hottensteller was filed in the District Justice Joseph Schaefer's office this morning, and he is currently lodged in the Beaver County Jail. Parking lot improvements are going to be happening in Ambridge as the borough has received a grant. A $124,200 Beaver County Community Development Block Grant was awarded to the borough to improve the Melrose Avenue and 7th Street parking lots. The borough also signed an agreement with Duquesne Light to install 4 more charging stations at the Melrose Avenue parking lot. The iconic Pittsburgh institution Kennywood is honoring the Steel City with 4 unique weekends dedicated to Pittsburgh arts, sports, heritage, and food during the park's inaugural Celebrate Pittsburgh event series. The park will honor the Kennywood tradition of night rides with 10 p.m. closes select days during Celebrate Pittsburgh. The park's final day of 10 p.m. closing times will be marked with Kennywood's first ever drone show. That's set to take place on Saturday, July 20th. Visitors will be amazed as the sky above the lagoon is lit with dozens of drones, creating a stunning display paying tribute to the Steel City. BMW of North America is recalling close to 400,000 vehicles in the United States because an airbag inflator could possibly explode. The agency said Tuesday that the original steering wheel may have been replaced with a Sport or M Sport steering wheel equipped with a Takata inflator. If the inflator explodes, it may result in sharp metal fragments striking the driver or other occupants of vehicles. BMW has not received any reports of accidents like that in the U.S., but they are monitoring the issue. And the TSA, which has screened higher passenger volumes this summer and a record-breaking 3 million passengers on Sunday, announced they've intercepted 3,269 firearms at airport security checkpoints during the first half of 2024. The first half of the year ended June 30th, and the total represents an average of 19 firearms detected per day at checkpoints. And of those weapons, they say more than 94% of them were loaded.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
Mostly sunny, hot, and humid again today. There's a slight chance we'll see an afternoon shower and thunderstorm. We'll reach a high near 87. Increasing clouds tonight with a chance of showers and thunderstorms. We'll see a low around 65. Sunshine tomorrow and a much-needed break in heat as we'll reach a high near 80 and an overnight low around 61. The heat starts creeping back on Friday with sunny skies and a high near 88. And more sunny, hot, and humid conditions in the forecast for Saturday. A high near 91 is expected. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
On this Wednesday, July the 10th of 2024, at 35 minutes past 11, we've got a temperature of 86 degrees with partly sunny skies in Beaver County. That's a look at the news for now. I'm Curtis Walsh on 99.3 FM and AM 1230 WBVP, also streaming at beavercountyradio.com.
Thanks for tuning in to Garden Jargon with Charlie Dirt right here on Beaver County Radio. It's being brought to you on Beaver County Radio 95.7, 99.3 FM, 1230 WBVP, 1460 WNBA, and BeaverCountyRadio.com. The phone lines are now open, 724-872-5800 843-1888, 724-774-1888.
You can also post your question in the comments section on the live Facebook feed. This is being Facebook fed. I'll switch the camera back over so you can see Charlie. He brought a big bag of oregano. He brought twine. That's not twine. That's I guess rope.
Yeah, actually, it's rope, and I was just looking at the package here during the news. It says it has 200 pounds tensile strength. That's more than enough you need to tie your tomatoes up.
Hey, if a tomato can break a 200-pound rated rope, I'm running from the tomato.
No, I'm saving those seeds for sure, brother.
For the Armageddon.
Yeah.
The vegetable apocalypse.
Right. Okay, want to recap?
Can I ask you a question completely out of the blue?
Go ahead.
We were talking about tying up tomatoes when we were getting into saving seeds, and if it's a hybrid, don't save the seeds because you're not guaranteed what it's going to be. But I don't know if you were listening this morning. I was talking about how do we spend our time? Is it fruitful? How much time do you spend on your garden in a week? How much money do you spend on your garden in a season? How much money does it save you? Because I think for a lot of people, that's I'm saving money too. You're not saving money if you're buying already caged up tomatoes.
Sure. The money I spend, and I don't spend very much money at all because I'm already established.
You've done it how long?
A long time. I've lived in my house since 1975 and pretty much had a garden there the whole time. It's gotten bigger over the years. As the kids didn't need the yard to play in anymore, a few more pepper plants went in. Okay, and I did it when I was a kid. From the time I was like 10 years old. So, and this is something, and this goes against what you had talked about earlier. My new greenhouse that I got, it's like an 8x8 greenhouse. You can put 12 trays of plants in it. That portable greenhouse didn't cost me a dime because I bought it with my Discover cash back.
Okay.
If you shop with a Discover card, well, they all give you some sort of cash back.
Yeah. And
there's certain times of the year that they give you more cash back than you. So I squirrel that money in that account, and then I spend it on my garden. So
you view that as free money?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as you pay the card off every month and you're not paying 35% interest or whatever.
Macy's just announced, hey, 35%. Don't like it? Too bad.
Yeah, I was listening to that when I was on the way over here.
I still remember the guy's name from my grade school, Charlie. His name, oh, God. His name was Chuck. Chuck was the loan shark.
Yeah.
If you forgot your lunch money, you went and you saw Chuck. Chuck didn't even charge 35%. So, how much would it have cost if it wasn't free money?
Well, the greenhouse itself.
Because that's a commitment.
Yeah, the greenhouse, and that's you don't want to do that if you're a beginning gardener. But they have small, like portable things. They're made the same way that you can put 3 trays of plants on, and they put a poly cover over it to protect them, on the cold nights and that. You can get them for $20, $25, something like that. And you can do 3 trays of plants, and you can get 72 seedlings in 1 tray of plants. So 72 times 3 is what, 200 and something?
216.
216. You're better at math than I am. So if 216 plants, you're going to be giving them away to your neighbors and your relatives and stuff. Okay. So and I spend some money on Miracle Grow. I spend money on Epsom salts. I spend some money on some fertilizer. I don't really keep track of it because I don't buy lottery tickets.
Right.
I don't fuss away my money like a lot of people do. But I'm gambling. When I buy the stuff for the garden, I'm still gambling.
It's true.
It's true. So and I'm not no illusions of grandeur on that. But I wanted to do a couple things real quick here before we get into preserving things.
Okay.
One more. Okay, remember, wash the tomato seeds. Let them dry. Okay.
This is why you need to watch this on Facebook. Charlie gives demonstrations.
Yes. Do not wash the pepper seeds. Just dry them. Now, that's a snow pea. My snow peas are now done. Snow peas are green, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you don't pick them when they're little pods, like they serve them in a restaurant, whatever. Okay. If you let that go, it turns into like a regular pea.
Doesn't it get much more fibrous?
Well, you could not eat this.
Okay.
But here, now.
We're snapping snow peas.
These are snow peas.
I'd rather do this and talk politics any day, I swear. I'm flashing back to my grandmother because my job was to break beans, and that's basically what you just did.
So there's snow pea seeds, if you can see them. I just popped them out of the pod. Mm-hmm. I'll do one more here just for fun. See when they're dry.
No, wait. Pop it near the microphone for a sound effect. There you go. Perfect. You're now a Foley artist. Good job.
All right. Okay. So now,
little seeds.
Now you know what you do with them? You plant snow peas in the spring or the fall because they can't take the heat. That's why they call them snow peas.
That looks like they would be perfect to shoot at your buddy through a straw.
They are excellent for that.
Uh-huh.
You can get pretty good at it. Not the flexible straw that have the hook in the middle.
No. You want an American straight straw, proud straw.
Right. Now you save these and you plant them in late summer or early fall, and you grow your next crop of snow peas off of some of the ones you saved. You just let it, and there's no work, Eddie. You just let them dry on the vine and do what I did here. Bingo. All right, one more thing. Now this is really weird.
I'm stealing those because I'm gonna hang on to those till after summer. I'm gonna get me some snow peas this fall.
Okay, well I'll give you them.
I love them.
Okay, I do too, and they're good for you. All right, now this is kind of off the wall. If you take one of your cabbage plants,
that looks like a weed that you pulled from a field.
Right. These are not completely mature, but if you take one of your cabbage plants and just don't harvest the cabbage, just leave it go, it will grow sprouts up and it'll kind of flower and it'll make these pods. And if it wasn't a hybrid cabbage, after these pods are completely brown and dry, they're not going to break open like the peas did because they're not ready yet. But I wanted to show to people that you can actually save seeds from the cabbage. That's a sprout off of a cabbage plant. If you like one you don't harvest, and it'll do that. So that's another kind of an oddball thing of saving your seeds. Okay, the last thing here is preserving the bounty of your garden.
Yeah,
it gives you satisfaction to grow it, but it gives you more satisfaction if in February you can go to the pantry and get the garlic or the potatoes or whatever.
This is where the cannon comes in?
Right, and I didn't want to necessarily get into cannon because this isn't a cooking show.
No, and cannon for real, it's not the easiest thing, and you can blow up your kitchen.
Well, yeah. Well, if you use a pressure cannon, yeah. And I used to with family. We would cold pack like 100 quarts of tomatoes out of the garden every year. I don't do it anymore. If I have some to save, scald them, skin them, put them in a Ziploc bag, and put them in the freezer. Or
Charlie's holding up another bag of something. What is that? It looks like. It honestly looks like dried old red licorice.
It is tomatoes.
Oh, dried tomatoes.
Okay. And you know, hey man, you want some sun-dried tomatoes? All right. Yeah, I'm not going to sun-dry the tomatoes because the bugs would get them. One of the things that you can run into in the thrift store, in the secondhand store.
I love thrift stores.
Me too. Dehydrators.
The tray things that everybody bought to dehydrate their fruits and veggies for snacks.
They're going to make fruit roll-ups. And they do that like one time. It gets stuck in the cupboard, and then they clean almost any time of the year, you can go to the thrift store and you can find dehydrators for a few bucks.
Quite possibly never used.
Quite possibly never used. Some of them are real fancy. They have a fan in them and everything. Most of them are just a convection thing. It's an element in the bottom and the trays. Mm-hmm. Right. This is from last year. And you're going to enjoy these, Eddie. You take the tomatoes. Now, you don't slice them and put them in a dehydrator because they'll stick on the trays. You quarter them and put them skin side down.
Put them wedge up.
Wedge up, exactly. Okay. Or if it's like a Roma, these are San Marzanos, actually, the pesto. You can just cut them in half and put them skin side down. Now, these I just spiced with a little salt. You can use your imagination. You could put any spice on these you wanted before you dried them. Any spice that you like, that you think you like to have. You like pepper. You might like to put a little cracked pepper.
Yes.
If you want them a little sweet, you could sprinkle a little granulated sugar on them. Okay? You just got to remember, once that dehydrates, it's going to intensify that sugar. So you don't want to slaughter it with sugar or slaughter it with salt. These are just lightly dusted with salt.
The spices don't disappear after it dehydrates. They don't fall out. It actually absorbs the flavor. It
absorbs it into the juice, and it's just I had a bunch of tomatoes left last year. I had some in the freezer, And 2 years ago I started dehydrating them. And these, Eddie, those are yours.
Thank you. That's you just provided my side veg for lunch.
Yeah. So that's now and
No, I'm just so excited. I love sun-dried tomatoes. And
Yeah.
this is the perfect snack.
It is, and it's good for you because tomatoes have citric acid. I mean, they got vitamin C and stuff.
I'm always about dodging the scurvy, buddy.
Oh yeah, you got to watch the scurvy. Now, let's say you've grown. I'm going to talk about garlic, potatoes, and onions. Mm-hmm. Now you go out. On the 4th of July, I don't go to fireworks. I dig my garlic. And then I plant my late corn where the garlic was. I've talked about that before. You dig your garlic. You dig it. You cut the tops off of it. Do not, this is potatoes, onions, and garlic. Do not wash it. Because in this case, cleanliness is not next to godliness. Cleanliness will keep the things from, or washing them will keep them from drying correctly. The onions and garlic will rot. The potatoes won't keep well. So what I do is, remember I had those pictures of the potatoes in the square boxes.
Like if you bought a case of beer, the cardboard box in the bottom.
Right.
Yes.
The best boxes, if you go into the grocery stores where you bag your own stuff, when they throw those boxes out, the boxes that grapes come in and stuff like that, they have little holes cut all the way around.
The produce boxes where you pull your stuff out of where they've stocked it.
Right,
Yeah.
and they throw those boxes out on a regular basis. Save them, and you can use them year after year after year. Spread your garlic out. Just kind of wipe the dirt off of it. Spread it out in the boxes. If you got more than one box worth, crisscross the boxes, stack them up. I got them sitting in my shed right now on the windowsill. And then after a few days, week, 10 days, go out and, believe it or not, one of the best things to clean the garlic with, which don't even exist, the old cloth diapers, the old cotton diapers, okay, or a terry cloth, like a towel, and just wipe it. Wipe it nice and clean, all right? If you want to, take a pair of scissors and nip the roots off of the bottom. Put them in your cellar. They'll keep all winter. They will keep all winter. The onions, same thing. Dig them and cut most of the green off of the top. Spread them out in a box like that, and then wipe the dirt off of them. Potatoes, you dig them, just wipe the dirt off of them, and you don't want to put potatoes or any of that stuff. If you put potatoes, and my buddy Eddie taught me this just a couple of years ago, so to show you, find out something all the time. If you store your potatoes in a refrigerator, they actually get a toxin underneath the skin, and some people even claim that toxin is a carcinogen. But if you have a coal cellar or a cold cellar, it's cool. Put your potatoes in a box and put them in the coal cellar. Put them downstairs. If you don't wash them, they'll keep for a long time. And if you sort them out, you're going to get them little bitty ones. You get the big ones. You dry the little bitty ones off by themselves. That can be your seed potatoes for next year. We talked about that a couple months ago.
All right, I got about 4 minutes left. Here's my question to you.
Yeah.
How much land would Charlie Dirt need to become nutritionally self-sufficient?
That's a tough question. It would depend on how good the soil is.
Okay.
The kind of soil that I have in downtown Beaver Falls, that river loam soil, I'm just picking a number. I'm going to say half an acre. If I had that kind of soil. If it's clay-based soil and it's not that good of stuff,
or
much
glowing green in the dark because it's something previously there. But under an acre, if the dirt's good, you could feed yourself year-round or through the winter, you think?
Well, you know what? I generally give away a lot of the stuff out of the garden, but I had potatoes out of my garden up until just a little while ago, just like a month or so ago. I still had garlic, and now if you want to preserve garlic, and I forgot to mention this, if you want to preserve it and you want to spend a little time, if you peel the garlic, and they make some garlic peelers, or like a I should have brought one in. I'll bring one next month. It's like a round rubber tube with bumps in it. You put the clove of garlic in, and you roll it on a hard surface, and the peel just pops right off.
Okay.
Peel the garlic, put it in a clean jar with salt and vitamin C. Put a little salt and a little citric acid, like your vitamin C pill you take. Put one of them in there, put some salt in there, and put it in the fridge, and it'll keep a long time. Or you can pickle it like you do pickles. You put it in vinegar, throw a little dill in, some salt, and you can pickle the garlic.
I had never seen pickled garlic until I moved to Western PA in the 90s. Anytime I see it, I buy a jar.
Sure.
And it's not about, it's part of, I sit and eat out of the jar with the spoon, eat the pickled garlic. It is one of my favorite. Oh,
is it whole cloves or is it chopped up?
Whole cloves.
Put it on a burger. Take that.
Really?
Like a dill pickle chip. Yeah.
Okay, what should we have talked about that we didn't? Charlie Dirk comes by once a month and we talk about gardening because it's garden jargon and I learn something every time and now I'm starving to death thinking of pickled garlic on a burger.
Yeah. Well, I guess, to wrap things up, like I say all the time, you have the right way, the wrong way, and the way that works for you. If you preserve your stuff totally different than I do and it works, do it. If you tie your tomatoes different than what I talked about, do it. If you save your seeds, if you hit on something that works, if it works for you, continue to do it. And here's the really neat thing. And this is why I love coming in here and doing this. Help the next generation learn how to do it. Because, there's how they say that, if you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day, but if you teach him to fish, he can feed himself for the rest of his life. Gardening is the same way. And very little of it is rocket science. Most of it's common sense. And listen to the elders and then pass it along. I learned from my parents, my grandparents, and that's, you worked with your grandmother.
I was the bean breaker, absolutely.
And a tomato tire, you know? And that all seems like mundane work when you're doing it, but you're learning about life, Eddie. You're learning what it takes, And like you were talking earlier about, you can get your beer delivered and Grubhub and all that stuff.
This is living your life. This isn't having your life lived by technology.
Exactly. And you have to make certain compensations. We can't do everything the way they did in previous generations. And we have to do certain things to allow for the fact that maybe your garden soil needs refurbished, but replenished with some mulch and stuff. And I talked about this. I get all the neighborhood leaves in the fall, and I pile them in the garden. Just put them in piles. Leave them rot all winter. In the spring, I rake them out, grind them up, and till them in. You got the leaf mold in the ground. The leaf mold brings earthworms. Earthworms brings natural nitrogen and natural cultivation. When them worms are crawling around in the ground, when you were digging worms to go fishing when you was a kid, if you plopped that shovel full over and it was full of worms, that dirt just broke apart.
Yes, it did.
Okay, there's no worms there. If you drop it, there's not going to be any night crawlers in there.
So nitrogen comes from worm poo?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And you get certain, and whatever nutrients you get from the tree leaves themselves. What happens is the leaves mold. And one of the earthworm's favorite food is leaf mold. Okay, so the leaves are degenerating down into the ground. The earthworms are feeding off them. It's like free fertilizer.
Yeah. You're working in harmony with Mother Nature.
Yes, and Mother Nature can also make you crazy.
Sure.
Because she can mess you up with the weather. She can mess you up with critters. Part of the reason I never buy a lottery ticket, other than the fact I'm like you and I'm cheap, is their sponsor is a groundhog.
Yeah, that should be on the license plate, though, shouldn't it? Gus the groundhog. You'd buy a license plate, pay an extra $20.
No, not for a groundhog. Maybe a fox squirrel, but not a groundhog.
Charlie Dirt, it's garden jargon. A what squirrel?
Fox. There's gray squirrels and
red squirrels.
Well, that's a little squirrel, but a fox squirrel is he's bigger than a gray squirrel.
Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, they're.
You want to raise money, PennDOT? You want to fill in the holes? The answer. Fox squirrel. Is it as big as a fox?
No. It's just the color of a fox. It's a red. You've got to have them in Ambridge, hanging around with nut trees and stuff.
I'll ask around.
Ask around.
I'll ask around.
Well, that's it for today's show. Thanks for tuning in to